Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm solo in the office today because, on Fridays we generally give Jonathan Voico a good, well-deserved rest. But I'm not alone in general because coming to me from the Robservatory is writer, director, producer Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
It's always good to celebrate a Friday with you, sir, and sending you off on a bon voyage or with a bon voyage on a long trip.
Yeah, like as soon as we're done the show today, I jump in Colossus, the name of our van, and I start the long drive out to Dallas for the first of our movie meetups. We're doing Dallas, then Austin, and then Orlando before coming back. It's going to be a long drive, but it's going to be fun. I got that new PlayStation Portal.
I saw that. Now, what exactly is that?
Okay, so the basic gist of it is, it's kind of like a handle, like like a Nintendo Switch, right? You got your controller and your screen in one. The difference with the Portal, traditionally, what the PlayStation Portal has been, is that you can take it out on the road, and it will connect to your PlayStation at home, and you can play your games from your PlayStation at home on your PlayStation Portal. But they just did an update to it this week where now, if you have a PlayStation Premium membership, which I have, you don't need to connect to your PlayStation 5. If you're connected to Wi-Fi, and of course I got the Starlink on the van, you can just plug into these hundreds of games that they've got on the PlayStation Store. Plus, you can play any game on PlayStation that you already bought digitally.
Wow.
And so
yeah,
and you don't even have to connect to your PS5 at home. So I ordered one a couple of nights ago, showed up overnight. I started playing Ghost of Tsushima yesterday on it.
Good game to start with.
Yeah, and it's great. And it only cost me $179 because I was looking at the Stream Deck and I was looking at that new, what's the new Legion handset one, but they can get like $600, $700, $800, $900. And this was like $179. And it looks gorgeous and it plays great. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Now with this update, because it wasn't worth it before because you had to just connect to your machine.
Sure.
But now it's amazing for the price. So I'm looking forward to getting on the road and trying it. Anyway, guys, you guys aren't here to talk to me about my new PlayStation Portal with the new update. You guys are here to hear us talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, those things that give us joy and make our hearts happy. That's what we're here to talk about today. And here's how the show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a number of topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. Now, the way we take live comments and questions here now is if you're watching live, and you have to be watching the show live, and you've got a thought, theory, opinion, or an observation, or a question about any of the topics we're discussing here today, or anything else, you can use the super chat feature that's there in the live chat. Send it on in a super chat, and as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show, we'll address it on the show in the second half of the show. All right, guys. With that down, let's get things started here, shall we? And we're going to start off with this. The other day we were talking about how it sounded like Paramount was moving on from the Kelvin timeline of Star Trek. Basically speaking, that means the J.J. Abrams Star Trek stuff. Because there had been talks about them doing a fourth film. I was looking forward to seeing it, but too many years have passed at this point. And there was a report coming out saying that they were going to do something new. Well, we didn't realize how ready they were to do something new. Because according to a new story in Deadline, a new Star Trek movie is already in the works from Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daley. These are the guys who wrote Spider-Man Homecoming. These are the guys who did Game Night, which I love that movie. And these are the guys, most importantly, who did the recent Chris Pine Dungeons and Dragons movie, which was wonderful. It completely flopped, but it was great. And nobody gave it a shot, which was always unfortunate. But you know who remembered? Paramount remembered. Anyway, the folks over at Deadline write the following. After breathing new life into high-profile IP like Spider-Man, the Spider-Man franchise, and Dungeons & Dragons, Jonathan Goldstein and Jonathan Francis Daley are looking to boldly go where no directors have gone before. Well, many have before, but where no directors have gone before with a popular franchise. Sources tell Deadline that the duo are coming on to write, produce, and are attached to direct a new original Star Trek film for Paramount. They will produce under the Gold Day banner. Plot details are being kept under wraps for now, but sources say that Goldstein and Daly's film is a completely new take on Star Trek universe and not connected to any previous or current television series, movie, or prior movie development projects. That pitch falls in line with Skydance founder David Ellison's recent comments on an earnings call where he said that the next Star Trek film would not be a sequel in the Chris Pine-led series, but something different with new actors. Rob, the part here that really jumps out to me is where it says in the article, it is not connected to any previous or current television series, movie, or prior movie development projects. That tells me a couple of things. Number one, it tells me that absolutely they've now moved on from the Kelvin timeline. That's done. And again, I'm a little sad about that, but I totally agree it was time to move on from it. But the other thing is, don't expect a new Captain Kirk. Don't expect a new Spock. Don't expect a new Scotty. Don't expect a new Uhura. Don't expect a new Sulu. Don't expect none of that. This is going to be all new, all different. Now, Rob, maybe I'm wrong to make this assumption, but I'm still going to assume that this new Star Trek universe, whatever it is at some point in its history, there was an Enterprise and there was a captain by the name of James Tiberius Kirk. And there was, one of the original Vulcan members of Starfleet in Mr. Spock. I'm going to assume that they're going to still say all that lore is there, but this is either going to be a different time period. It's going to be a completely different crew, I'm not expecting to see another Enterprise. It sounds like they're really going boots to the ground, totally new direction. Kind of in the way, Rob, that I've been saying Star Wars should go. It's like, why are we always visiting the same characters we already know in Star Wars? The universe is vast. And it sounds like that's the direction they're going. Although I still have zero doubt that it's going to center around Starfleet. I still believe it's going to be Starfleet. It's going to be a ship and a crew. But anyway, Rob, to me, though, the highlight, the headline, the main event of this story isn't new Star Trek. It isn't in a different way and a new cast. It's Goldstein and Daly directing it and writing it.
100%.
And because you look, even just like the three projects I mentioned, Game Night, which if you haven't seen Game Night, guys, you absolutely have to see Game Night. It's wonderful. They wrote Spider-Man Homecoming, which was, a very daunting task because a lot of people, Rob, were thinking like me. It's like, isn't this like the third reboot of Spider-Man in like 7 years? And yet they did it and they made it fresh and they made it amazing. And most importantly to me, they then took on Dungeons and Dragons. And that's to me the most applicable one to this Star Trek series because you have a franchise that maybe some people felt was a little old in the tooth, a little long in the tooth, had some failed projects, but they found a way to come in, put new characters in it, breathe fresh life into it. They made it engaging and entertaining. Rob, it may not have had a lot of box office success, but I thought the film was wonderful. And if you had asked me yesterday, Rob, who could I see directing a new Star Trek film? We could have come up with some names. I never would have thought of them, but I love it. I think it's a wonderful connection. Anyway, Rob, you're the one who saw this story. You're the biggest Star Trek fan I know. What is your takeaway on this?
You might be surprised. You've heard me talk. I've not been happy with the current state of Star Trek. I love this. If you look at the Dungeons and Dragons movie, you could imagine you could take those characters, put them on a starship, drop them in the Star Trek universe, and they could work together and you would get the feel of what great Star Trek is all about. It's all about disparate people that are good at their jobs coming together to achieve something great, to be greater than the sum of their parts. And the whole thing about Star Trek, it's always been, an allegorical science fiction action adventure, but at its core, it's always about what humanity can do once we've overcome our petty differences and reach out into the stars. It's inherently optimistic. It's inherently something that should be inspiring, uplifting, dare I say fun, because what does that mean? But that's what they can do. They did it with Spider-Man Homecoming. They did it with Game Night. They did it with Dungeons and Dragons. And, John, if you think about the Star Trek universe in a show like Deep Space Nine, all brand new characters, but even within Deep Space Nine, they would have Ferengi stories. They would have Klingon stories. They would have stories about Dr. Bashir and Sloan of Section 31. You had all these different kinds of stories that could be told under the umbrella of Deep Space Nine. Voyager and Next Generation were a little different. But that's what Star Trek is. It's a universe. And what modern Star Trek has done is retread old ground. Everything's a prequel. The Kelvin universe was really the first time Kirk and Spock met. Then you had Discovery, which is a prequel to the original series. Strange New Worlds is a prequel to the original series. And the Star Trek universe is vast. I mean, if you think about it as something that is analogous to our own life, let's call Star Trek, say, the first half of the 20th century, from 1900 to 1950. Well, that exists. That all happened. But you know what that gave birth to? James Bond in 1960. So he starts out as a Cold War. It's still in the same universe, but now you've got a whole new way to tell stories with all new characters that's still set in the same, in our case, the 20th century. But now you've got the Star Trek universe exists, like you pointed out. All these characters exist. They're all out there, or maybe their time has passed and this new Star Trek's going to be set in a different era, but it's still there. I don't understand why they haven't done this before. You start out with brand new characters, a brand new situation, start from scratch, but you've got the universe. Just like with Star Wars, you have an entire universe. Let's go explore. Let's do it. Let's boldly go where we've never gone before with Star Trek.
And how are you feeling about the choice of directors here?
I love
Where does it work? Why does it work for you? How are you feeling about it?
Well, one, I like the fact that you've got two guys bouncing ideas off one another. I think the fact that, look, they have shown that they can. I mean, Game Night was not that movie had some bite. It was hilarious.
That was so fun, that movie.
What I love about these directors, I think the best thing about them is they know how to work an ensemble. They can take characters that previously exist, like in Spider-Man, or new characters like in Dungeons and Dragons, and they know how to make an ensemble work. And I think Star Trek is best when you have a core group of characters playing off each other's strengths to support the team, so to speak. And if you look at Dungeons and Dragons, people, whenever I do this, whenever I say things like, you could see Dungeons and Dragons as a Star Trek movie. And now what I mean by that is what the core characters are trying to accomplish in the film. Imagine characters like that trying to do something similar, but in space instead of in a medieval magic-filled environment on Earth. So I think that they're the perfect guys. Star Trek needed new blood, needed a new approach, needed somebody. And most of all, it has to be entertaining.
Yeah.
And I think they're great. I think they're a great choice. They're a breath of fresh air, and I'm all in. I'll go all in on these guys. I just hope, they've announced so many creative teams coming in to Star. I mean, there's been so many people that came and went to develop Star Trek 4 over the last 9 years. And
not to mention Tarantino. Like, remember, Tarantino was the name there that was attached for a while, and they had a couple of others. And maybe this will work out to be the same way, but it kind of sounds like they've already a little bit down the road. It sounds like, they're saying they're keeping the details in the wrap. It sounds like they've already got their details. So it's exciting to hear. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I think this is kind of exciting. The creative team behind, at least writing Spider-Man Homecoming, that did Game Night, that did the Dungeons and Dragons movie, they're now writing, directing, and producing a new Star Trek film that's going to be all new characters, all new cast. How are you feeling about it? I listen, it could go very badly, but I think this sounds like a great first step. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? A movie I've been really looking forward to since CinemaCon is The Running Man. I just thought the trailers we saw for this thing looked incredible. It looked fantastic. They showed us the preview for it at CinemaCon. I was surprised by how great it looks. I love Glenn Powell. I love Josh Brolin. Most importantly, though, I love Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright is such a great director, and I just love his sensibility. And so everything about this looked and felt pretty cool to me. Now, the reviews that have come in haven't been great. They've been solid. I mean, it's got a 64%, which means, of course, if you got 100 critics, 64 of them like it, 36 of them don't. All right, that's not a bad ratio, I suppose. But regardless, I was looking forward to going in and watching Running Man. So last night, I went to go see Running Man. And I got to tell you, I was pretty disappointed. Rob, I know you and I have both been really excited about this film. But by the time I walked out, I was pretty disappointed. Now, look, let me say this. The movie's got a lot of good things going for it. I was telling Rob before the show started today that had they ended the film, let me say it this way. Let's say I got an emergency text message and I looked at my watch and I saw there was an emergency and I had to leave the theater, say an hour 15, hour 20 minutes into the film. I would have walked out of the theater going, damn, I want to see the rest of this. Because up until that point, I was having a good time. The best Edgar Wright movie? No, but it was a really good time. It was everything that I was kind of wanting it to be up until that point, right? It was quick, witty one-liners, some good shots of humor, fun action, and a little bit of subtle social commentary, which, if you know the original story of The Running Man, not the Arnold movie, the original story of Running Man, you know there's a lot of that. Actually, the whole thing is basically an allegory, regardless. And then, Rob, Michael Cera shows up in the movie. And he's great. I'm not the biggest Michael Cera fan in the world. I'm going to admit it. Great. And of course, Michael Cera worked with Edgar Wright before in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. So Michael Cera shows up in it a little past halfway through the movie. And he's great. And I love the character. And I love everything that goes on around him. And you could probably tell, you can tell from the trailers because you only see Michael Cera in the trailers in one scene. I will tell you he's in more than that, but you know, he's not in the whole ton of the movie. So by the time like Michael Cera's character leaves, the film completely loses everything. It completely starts to unwind. What was fun became convoluted. What was charming became cringy. And the little kind of subtle stuff of social commentary they were doing in the first hour to an hour and 20 minutes suddenly became a big Harley Quinn sized mallet banging you over it, directly saying, people should be this. And it was just so on the nose that it lacked, to use Robert Meyer Burnett's word, verisimilitude. It lacked any feeling of authenticity. It felt like a scripted speech. And then these bonker things start happening, and sometimes things can go bonkers, and that's great. But this just went bonkers as in, what are they even doing? What's happening now? And again, not to give anything away, but at some point, a female character shows up, and you'll see what I mean when you watch it. That by the time the credits rolled, I'm like, what the hell was she even there for? What is going on? It was, Rob, I'm telling you, it's a movie that had a little bit of split personality disorder because again, the first hour 15, hour 20 minutes, maybe even like up to an hour and 30, because the movie's like 2 hours and 10 minutes long, maybe even up to an hour and 30. I was having a really good time. It was fun. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just completely lost its way. It started, instead of everything flowing well, it became very jarbled. And it's like, why did that just happen? Who does this? Who says this? Wait a minute. The bad guy just did this. That makes no sense when he obviously would be in a much better place if he did this instead. I mean, honestly, Rob, you know what it felt like? It felt like 2/3 of the way through making this movie, Edgar Wright decided to go to Disneyland and he left the film to somebody else to finish. That's honestly how jarring it feels to me. And, sometimes, Rob, I'll watch a movie and where I like the first 2 acts but don't like the third act. But a lot of the times the first 2 acts are so good, yeah, the third act didn't ruin it for me. Yeah, like the third act lost its way, but it didn't ruin it for me. The third act of this movie to me is so poor that it actually soured the rest of the movie for me.
Wow.
And while there are, again, I can't stress this enough, some really good things going for it in the first hour and a half or so, and it's a fun ride for the first hour and a half, it just goes completely off the rails to the point that I walked out, that I can say, I don't think I've ever said this about an Edgar Wright film, and I never want to again. I walked out going, that was disappointing. And now again, don't just take it from me. Keep in mind, this movie still has a 64%, which means the majority of the critics who've seen it like it. So that you may like it, right? I'm just one person. I'm just one voice giving you my opinion. But I am one person who I'm predisposed to liking Edgar Wright stuff because I love Edgar Wright. And I loved all the previews and I was loving the first bit of the film, Rob, and it just lost its way. Now, I know, Rob, you'd been excited about this movie too. You did not go to see it yesterday, though, because you got caught up in a TV show, which that's happened. Man. That's happened to me before. But where have your expectations been, and what have you been hearing other than just from me?
Well, I read this book when it first came out, I think in 82, and it, the 1987 Running Man, believe it or not, was actually, it was not really based on the book. It was actually based on a French film and there was a plagiarism case that went on for 11 years, and they found it in favor of the director of the French film, that the original Running Man ripped off that other movie that was based on a 1958 Robert Sheckley short story. So I never got the Running Man I wanted to see. I wanted to see the book. So when I saw the trailer with you at CinemaCon, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited to see this. And Edgar Wright obviously is somebody that I know is an imagination connoisseur par excellence, like he is. He must have read the book too, which, he did. So I'm really excited. I'm going this afternoon to see it, and I'm really excited to see this, even though it's been mixed. But I understand, because it's the thing about this book is there's a lot of elements from it that we've seen in a lot of other things. And I think that happens with a lot of these famous books, or they get adapted, like Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire. They've taken a lot of things from her Vampire Chronicles and incorporated them into movies that we've seen since those books were published. So, and obviously the actual ending of the book is incredibly problematic, and I'm not going to say why, but they have to change it. They couldn't. So they've changed that ending. But I mean, look, from what I've heard, this movie's beautifully produced. It's really lush. It's fun to watch. As you said, Glenn Powell's great in it. But I'm sorry to hear that it goes off the rails in the third act. But the third act was always, to me, going to be problematic because they couldn't end it the way they ended the book. And I'm curious to see how that goes. So
listen, Glenn Powell is a superstar. Glenn Powell's a superstar. A lot of that stuff that I was talking about the first hour and a half or so that was really clicking and worked, a lot of that is carried on the charismatic shoulders of Glenn Powell and his natural charisma. And he's an action star, man. I mean, really, the problem with the film certainly wasn't him. He was really good in it. I'll look forward to seeing him more stuff like this. But yeah, as somebody who had been really excited for this movie, guys, and as somebody who is a, die-hard Edgar Wright fan, I got to say I was pretty disappointed with The Running Man, unfortunately. But whatever. Everybody has a bad day at the office. This one was Edgar Wright's, and I'll still look forward to his next project with great excitement. But yeah, it's got to be honest, guys. This one didn't really work for me. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, I may not have liked it, but there are other critics who did. Again, it's got a 64%, which means the majority of the critics seem to like it, and maybe you will too, and I hope that you do, but it just didn't click for me. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, there's a new movie that came out on streaming called Playdate.
I was looking forward to this.
Kevin James. You know, I had oddly been looking forward to this too. Kevin James and Reacher star Alan Ritchson. And the trailers for it made it look like absolute streaming gobbledygook. And yet, at the same time, we were kind of like, I still really oddly want to see this. Because again, listen, I think Kevin James doesn't have a great movie track record, but I find him to be a really funny dude. And I really like Alan Ritchson. Well, the movie's now come out, and I have not seen it myself. I have not. I didn't realize it had popped online. But the reviews aren't good, Rob. They're not good. This one is one of the most damning. It doesn't sound all that bad, but listen to this headline on this one from The Hollywood Reporter. A Playdate review. Alan Ritchson and Kevin James in the latest Prime Video action comedy Made to Ignore While Doing Chores. A movie made to ignore while doing chores. As of this moment, the Rotten Tomatoes score of Playdate is 16%. 16%. Ooh. And it's, because the way that Rotten Tomatoes works, Rob, it doesn't tell you this is an 18% movie. It tells you what percentage of the critics liked it. They may have super loved it. They may have barely liked it, but still liked it. And that still just counts as the same, right? How many of the percentage of the critics liked it? How many didn't like it? It's very simple, very binary. People didn't just kind of dislike this though, Rob. The reviews are harsh. Let's go over and take a look at some of these. LeisureBite.com wrote, Prime Video Playdate repeats everything that we have seen in action comedy films, leaving us annoyed. The Decider wrote, the movie's primary tone is obnoxious. The Hollywood Reporter said, Playdate isn't a movie. It's a compendium of cliches in search of one. What's even worse is that the cliches are so stale. Flickering Myth wrote, damn near unwatchable and insufferable. Playdate is comedy at its laziest, and not even a couple of goofy sci-fi ideas can salvage it. Now, there were a couple who liked it. Comic Book Resources, CBR, liked it. They said, in the realm of standout action movies and gut-busting comedies, Playdate is one of the more harmless choices that promises to deliver exactly what it promises. All right, so not exactly a glowing review, but they enjoyed it. Fandom Wire also enjoyed it, saying Ritchson steals every scene with absurd energy and surprising warmth, like a big golden retriever trapped in a comic book hero's body. Sweet, impetuous, and goofy. He's incredibly likable. By the way, I read in a lot of the reviews I read that didn't like it, seemed to still think Alan was really good, but so much of that. Paste Magazine wrote, the sheer cumulative ugliness of Playdate as it careens between sequences of incomprehensible action and dull as dirt comedy works to do nothing so much as corrode the spirit. RogerEbert.com wrote, it's a remarkably stupid movie that thinks you're remarkably stupid too. Sean Van Horn says, forget action star. Alan Ritchson is destined for comedy. Ready Steady Cut writes, it's an art as content in its most egregious and obnoxious form, and is utterly undeserving of even the 90 minutes it takes to suffer through it. Mark's Review of Movies writes, Playdate has clearly been chopped and dubbed to within an inch of its comedic life, and it just, look at all those green splats. And there's a good one. Anyway, so Rob, I don't think either you or I are surprised to hear that the movie's not good. I don't think we're surprised to hear that. I think we anticipated that, even though we were looking forward to watching it.
I wanted some dumb fun.
Yeah, and you know, maybe it gives moments of it. It sounds like it
Dumb
just
fun can
corrodes
be
the
good
brain.
dumb fun.
Sure, but it didn't sound like dumb fun. It just sounded like
No.
dumb. So, two questions. One, are you surprised to hear these, or at least are you surprised to hear how badly a lot of these people didn't like it? But here's the second question. Where does this leave us with Alan Ritchson? Because, you know, Alan Ritchson has been around for a while. But it wasn't really until Reacher that he kind of broke out. Now, he did Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which I quite liked, but again, didn't really have any success. Had no success. He did that one family kind of Hallmark movie thing that absolutely nobody paid attention to. So then they put him in a movie that kind of looks like it's really tailor-made for him, this action comedy. And nobody likes it. So it almost feels unfair to ask this about a performer when the movie overall isn't really the performer's fault. But where does this leave us with Alan Ritchson? Can he be beyond Reacher, a legitimate big star? I don't know. How are you seeing all this right now?
Well, I find the way the business is running. So Alan Ritchson is obviously great as a headliner on Reacher. I think everybody who likes
He's
that show,
fantastic in that.
he's so great. He embodies the character as written by Lee Child, and people really love that show. I'm looking forward to the spinoff. I don't know what Neely, what happened to that? Where's that? But I really like the show a lot. There's a lot of books to draw from, and I've liked him in his supporting roles in the ungentlemanly conduct,
Ministry of Ungentlemanly
Warfare. I thought he was great in that, being part of the ensemble. I think this was a stab that his people, call it his representation, said, look, you're going to do a streaming movie. You probably get a nice paycheck. Maybe it'll open up. Maybe you could be an action star and the new Adam Sandler, or a combination of the two, and get a deal to make Christmas movies and action movies, kind of like what Mark Wahlberg is doing.
Yeah.
With his
and getting paid a lot of money to do it.
Yeah, and getting paid a lot. And I see that that is on paper a good way to go, I think, if you get the material. But if you're going to get a Chat GPT written script that it's not clever, and it's not there, at least the reviews are saying how cliche it is. If you've got somebody like Alan Ritchson who has a physicality to him, but can also be funny, because Reacher's pretty funny sometimes. And I can understand where they see the comedy, but comedy is only as good as its material. And if you don't have great comedy material, there's nothing that gets older faster. There's nothing that curdles worse than bad comedy. And if all of this, I was looking forward to this because obviously you could tell from the trailers that it was cliche, but I was hoping they'd put a spin on it because Alan Ritchson was in it, and apparently I'm disappointed to hear that it didn't work. So
yeah,
I'm sad, John. I really was looking forward to this.
And again, I wonder if something like this, because again, outside of Reacher, he really hasn't had any big success yet. And I'm not saying that's his fault at all. I quite like Alan Ritchson a lot. But man, if I just can't help but wonder if James Gunn and the people at DC and Warner Brothers, because there's been a lot of talk. He's confirmed he's in talks to be in the DC universe, hasn't revealed who it is yet, other than it's not Batman. But I wonder, if people look at this, and I don't know if this casts a little bit of a shadow on his sheen or not. Do you think, like, again, Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare didn't work. This movie didn't work. That Hallmark, whatever movie that was that he did where he was the family man, didn't go anywhere. Does any of that hurt his potential, or were all those movies so unwatched that it doesn't actually hurt his potential right now? How do you see it?
Yeah, I don't think it does, because he's still got his marquee character, and they're making more Reacher.
Yeah, we got two things of him coming out as Reacher. He's going to at least appear. I don't know how much he's going to be in it, but he's going to be in the Neegly spinoff.
Yep.
And which they've wrapped shooting. And then he's got the next season of Reacher coming out. So he's at least still going to have that.
Yeah, and I think I think it's just, look, building a career is, and like you said, he's been around for a long time. He's been bouncing around to different shows, and really Reacher is the thing that he got the biggest pop from, and it made him a household star. But you got to be careful wielding that clout, because so many people squander it and you go right off a cliff. And I think you've got to demand excellence. You can't just take these paycheck jobs, especially when you're making these streaming service movies where it's not like they're treating these scripts as if they're being written by somebody who wrote Lawrence of Arabia or Chinatown.
Right.
You really need to be careful with the kind of material that you're going to do, and not just grab these quick paychecks, because these are things that these aren't like going to be buried movies that aren't going to be seen. A lot of people are going to watch this. They're promoting the heck out of it. And people aren't dumb when they see this kind of look. These are supposed to be kind of disposable fun movies, but if you don't make a good disposable fun movie, you use up that clout and that goodwill very quickly. Because Mark Wahlberg is still making these kinds of movies, and they're fun.
Yeah, he's made a couple of bad ones, but he's made a couple of good ones. As long as you keep throwing in a couple of good ones, you're okay. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I don't think any of you are super surprised to find out that Playdate is not getting good reviews. But the question becomes, do you think this is any indication or going to have any impact on Alan Ritchson himself moving forward? Maybe yes, maybe no. I certainly hope not, because I really like the guy. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, the biggest thing in the world of film, of course, is the Oscars. But some would argue that the next thing up after that is the BAFTAs. The British version of them, if you will. Now, one of the big movies that everybody's been talking about this year, including for music and maybe for animation, is the movie KPop Demon Hunters, a movie that admittedly I don't like that much, but I am absolutely not embarrassed to tell you that I am completely obsessed with the music in it. Absolutely love it. And I'm looking forward to hearing it get performed at the Oscars, and I'm looking forward to them getting at least nominated for some musical Oscars. But you ain't gonna see it nominated or talked about, let alone win anything, at the BAFTAs. Because as Deadline is reporting, they've ruled KPop Demon Hunters ineligible, and they have rejected Netflix's appeal. KPop Demon Hunters, ineligible for BAFTA Film Awards despite Netflix appeal over theatrical release after the PIC's streaming launch. The basic gist of the article is this. I guess they have rules that say if you debut on streaming, you're not eligible. We don't care if you get put on some movie theater screens later. If you debut on streaming, you're ineligible. Now, Netflix appealed because BAFTA has some internal rules that they can make some exceptions, and Netflix was kind of hoping to get an exception for it. But BAFTA has said, nope, no soup for you. You debuted on streaming, and you were only on streaming for months, and then you went to theaters, and that's not good enough for our film awards. It makes you ineligible, and they have rejected the appeal. All right. That is interesting. So we're not going to see KPop Demon Hunters win any of the music awards over there. But it raises an even bigger question for me. And it's one I've brought up over the years, and I'll be honest with you guys, I still struggle with. Should any Netflix movie be eligible for Oscars? Let me rephrase. Should any Netflix movie that, as the BAFTA rulebook states, should any Netflix movie that does not debut in theaters be eligible for Oscars or BAFTAs or any other types of film awards? And the reason I ask that question, because you might say, but John, a movie is a movie. But here's the part that I've always wondered about. Before Netflix and before streaming, there have always been TV movies. There have always been TV movies. And so theatrical movies, their place to be honored is at the Oscars. TV movies, they also have a place to be honored, which is the Emmys. Emmys is for TV. Oscars is for movies. And so, look, Rob, I don't have there's really not much to say about BAFTA's ruling here. They have a rule. It's in the rule book. You got to debut in cinemas. We maybe can give exceptions, but we don't think this one qualifies. Fine. But again, it raises that question for me. And as much as I absolutely think K-pop Demon Hunters should get musical nominations at the Oscars, but it raises the question again. What's the distinction then between the Emmys and the Oscars? The Emmys have for decades and decades and decades and decades, all movies that are made for TV get honored at the Emmys. It's always been that way. And no TV movie has ever been given an Oscar. So why does streaming, which is a TV service, you can make an argument it's even more than a TV service because it can also be for my phone, it can be for my tablet and all that kind of stuff. But Oscars, movies, Emmys, TV. So anyway, Rob, so I guess this brings up two questions. The first question is, what do you think about BAFTA's stance here to say K-pop Demon Hunters is not eligible for the BAFTAs this year, despite the fact that Netflix appealed it? And then secondly, how are you feeling about that whole question about should Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus or HBO movies, which are TV movies, should they be eligible for Oscars at all? I'm not saying I have a definitive answer. I don't, but I'm wrestling with it. How do you see it?
Well, to me, I've always kind of thought about it as what is the intent? And I think that the intent of a theatrically released motion picture, a movie like that is approached differently than a streaming film. And more so now, the way streaming movies are made, they're playing to analytics. You could make an argument. I mean, look, some people are going to say, well, it's all the same. It's things you can watch. Who cares the way you watch them? But I would say the reason something is made, the whole point of giving awards to movies in the first place is that they were considered art. They were considered something that benefited society, benefited human existence. That the movies that were made, I mean, obviously they've only been making movies since the early part of the 20th century. They haven't been around like all the other art forms. It was a new art form, and people eventually recognized after it really existed for a little less than 30 years, this is art, and we should recognize it as such. And so, when television came in and started to reach dominance in the 50s, they had to make this distinction. People in their minds said, well, movies are still art. Now, however, there is a blurred line, certainly. And when you have streamers that are making movies now that want to release them theatrically, I think the streamers have to make a decision. You can't expect K-pop Demon Hunters, a movie that was designed and built to be streamed. They didn't know it was going to be the phenom that it became. You can't then go retroactively say, well, we put it in theaters after the fact, so why shouldn't it be nominated for BAFTAs? You can't do that. You have to sort of, the idea should be, I mean, K-pop Demon Hunters, for as artistic as I think it is, and it is kind of a triumph in a way. I can understand that. I can understand why Netflix feels that way, but they can't have their cake and eat it too. They need to commit. They need to commit when they buy theatrically released franchises like the Knives Out franchise, and they make Glass Onion and Wake Up Dead Man. You have to treat those like theatrical movies if that's what you want them to be. And if you're not doing that, you don't get the benefits of what theatrically released films that are supposed to have an artistic bent, that are supposed to be considered art. You can't have it both ways. So
yeah, because you're right. It kind of feels like Netflix here is like, no, we're not in the movie industry, but we would like the Oscars and the BAFTAs, please. then do the things you're supposed to do to win those awards. Put out theatrical films, put them out in theaters, and then benefit as a streaming company when you later put them on your streamer. I don't know why this is rocket science to the idiots at Netflix. I really don't.
I don't either.
But, I say idiots at Netflix, but I am a big fan of Netflix. I've been a subscriber forever, but this part just infuriates me.
I'm a fan too, but you know what? They won't even commit to theatrical.
Yeah.
And yet we're not going to commit to a real theatrical release, but we want to be considered a movie company. And it's like, they've been very clear to say, we're not. And I'm like, okay, so you're only making movies based on your own analytics. You're not even making films with an artistic bent. You literally are making content. And the way it originates is algorithmically based, which means by definition, you're not really creating art. You're feeding an algorithm based on things that have previously existed. Whereas the idea that art comes from something that hasn't existed, that's inspired by everything that came before it. But a human being made that decision, not a computer. So
anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Netflix went crawling, begging, and groveling to the BAFTAs and appealed, please reconsider letting our movie be eligible for your awards, to which BAFTA said, no. It's too bad because I would have liked to have heard those songs sung at the BAFTA Awards too, because I am obsessed with music. But what do you think about BAFTA's decision? And again, the larger context. Historically, TV movies get nominated at Emmys, not at Oscars. Why should things like Netflix or Disney Plus or HBO original films be any different? Why shouldn't they fall under the Emmy category instead of the Oscars? And why doesn't Netflix just do the things they need to do then to make them eligible for BAFTAs and Oscars? Anyway, whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. Of course, the biggest thing going on in the movie universe right now is what the heck is going on with Warner Brothers. They're up for sale. One of the most all-time classic and iconic movie studios might be up on the sales block. Some people think Paramount's going to get it. Now it's looking more and more like maybe NBC Universal Comcast might get it. Netflix is still making major moves to try to get it, wherever it's going to warm up. So one of the questions that comes up about that is, so what happens to David Zaslav? The guy who is the architect to stabilizing and bringing Warner Brothers back to life, will he still be there? Because remember, Paramount's David Ellison floated it out there. Hey, if you let us buy Warner Brothers, David Zaslav will become the co-chairman and co-CEO of the brand new, bigger Paramount. They've thrown that out there. There have been some suggestions that Netflix would even keep him as the head of the company if they did that. So what's going to happen? Well, in a brand new article that came out in Variety that is loaded with a lot of details and a lot of technical information, the headline in Variety is, amid sales review, Warner Brothers Discovery clarifies that CEO David Zaslav's employment agreement will let him retain stock options in the event of a change in control. Let me give you the cliff notes here. The basic gist of the article is saying they just redoubled down. The board of Warner Brothers Discovery, Rob, just doubled down with David Zaslav. That said a couple of things. One, even if the company gets sold, all these to-be vested stock options don't lapse. In layman's terms, that basically means whether Warner Brothers sells or not, these future big financial windfalls he has coming are coming regardless. It's contractual. And if somebody else buys the company, the contracts go along with it, and he's going to get a big payday. But Rob, one of the most fascinating aspects of this, and let me see if I can find it here. One of the most fascinating aspects of this article comes with a contract that says even if the company sells, David Zaslav's the CEO until 2030. Which I've never heard of anything like this. Let me read you the paragraph. It says this. If Warner Brothers Discoveries enters into a qualifying change in control agreement before December 31st, 2026, so next year, before the end of next year, and has not completed a separation or reverse spinoff by then, the amendment to Zaslav's employment agreement provides that the term of his employment agreement will continue until December 31st, 2030, as would have been the case had the separation been completed prior to the December 2026 end date, rather than ending December 31st, 2027. This extension, they said, is intended to secure Mr. Zaslav's leadership of Warner Brothers Discovery for the same period that we had contracted to have him serve as the chief executive officer of Warner Brothers following a separation, Warner Brothers Discovery explained. This ensures that if the strategic review leads to our entering into a qualifying change in control agreement, sale, before December 31st, 2026, Mr. Zaslav will have the same opportunity to vest in and incentives from the signing options that he would have received had the separation been completed in 2026. Now, look, none of this, Rob, guarantees that whoever buys it will maintain David Zaslav as CEO. They could do buyouts. They could negotiate with him. There's a lot of different things that can happen. But it seems to me that the leadership of Warner Brothers Discovery just gave David Zaslav the ultimate golden parachute.
Yeah.
It's like, whoever gets you. But the article goes on to say that this extension for David Zaslav, this expansion of the terms of his contract, isn't just about giving David Zaslav this great golden parachute. They actually see it as giving value because they believe a lot of these suitors want assurances that David Zaslav will stay as CEO. The article suggests that a lot of the suitors are thinking they want David Zaslav to be committed to staying, and that by creating this contract, they are making Warner Brothers Discovery more attractive to the buyers. Much like, Rob, the way you and I talked about when David Zaslav gave that great extension to Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi. Yeah. It wasn't just to reward them for a job well done. It was to make it more attractive to potential buyers going, oh, if we buy Warner Brothers, we get DeLuca and Abdi with it too.
Yes.
So it sounds like that's what they're doing here. Anyway, Rob, you had a chance to look over this article. There's a lot of technical what ifs and some outs and loops and stuff like that, but that's the general gist. What's your main takeaway from it, and what do you think about it?
Well, I think, look, Warner Brothers is cooking, and its value has increased. Its debt load is diminished, and the studio's probably the best place it can be, all things
in
being
years.
Equal.
They're in the healthiest position they've been in years.
And why wouldn't you want to maintain the people that have done that? And, we've talked about Abdi and Mike DeLuca are industry veterans with DeLuca's been an executive since the late 80s. And, Zaslav came in and picked them. That was a good choice. And where they're at in 2025 in terms of what Warner Brothers has done as a studio and where they seem to be going in 2026 and into 2027 puts them that's what you want a studio to be doing. I mean, making great films that can later become picked up for streaming, and it makes your entire ecosystem healthier. And why would you want to diminish that? Because if you're trying to sell, if somebody's going to buy your company, you want it to be the healthiest it can be because it drives the value up. And that means that if somebody's going to buy it, they've got to pony up. And that's what you want. You don't want ever selling your business when it's down in the dumps is not really the way to go. Make your company as attractive as possible for any suitors that want to come in and purchase it, and give everybody as much value as you can. So I think that's a great thing. And by the way, if Warner Brothers doesn't sell, which ultimately we don't want it to, it's in good hands. I mean, it's I think moving forward, the way it is right now is great for the studio. So we'll see where it winds up.
Because like from the movie studio side thing, again, they just set the all-time Hollywood they broke the all-time Hollywood record, putting out 6 films in a row to debut at #1 at over $40 million opening weekend. They then extended their own record to 7, which had never been done before. Now, their record got broke, or they snapped their streak with One Battle After Another.
But it's still open at #1, just not at $40 million.
But it's still open at #1, and by the way, is one of the front leading contenders to win Best Picture at the Academy Awards. With Hemnet is going to be one of those films. Marty Supreme is going to be one of those films. There's going to be a few others too, but it's one of the big leading ones. And I mean, listen, I think this speaks. I'm ready to say, Rob, no matter who gets this, David Zaslav is still going to be the head of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Paramount's already made it clear that that's their plan. The articles I'm reading, while Netflix hasn't said anything outright themselves, the articles I'm reading are suggesting that that is also Netflix's plan to keep him in there. And for NBC Universal Comcast, I think they'll do the same thing too. I really do.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Of course, a lot is up in the air. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The board and the leadership of Warner Brothers Discovery has just given extensions and expansions, if you will, very lucrative one, to the contract of David Zaslav. That's going to pay him very, very well, whether he does stay or doesn't stay on after Warner Brothers gets acquired. Whatever you guys make of all this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, let's go on to this, shall we? Ticket Watch may be coming because probably what is going to end up being the #1 box office film of the year. They have just announced that Avatar, Fire and Ash, which will be the #1 film of the year, the tickets are going on sale this Monday. They announced such in several social media posts from the official Avatar account saying, "The world of Pandora will change forever. Avatar, Fire and Ash, only in theaters on December 19th. Get your tickets Monday." Catch an exclusive look at Avatar, Fire and Ash during Monday Night Football on ESPN. Experience the film only in theaters December 19th. Tickets on sale Monday. Blah, 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 blah. Tickets on sale Monday. So, we know when it's coming. And ticket sales are going to be hot. Not to mention, because not only are we getting an Avatar movie, we're getting the first look at Avengers Doomsday. Which, dare I say, Rob, I will go on record and say, this is not don't think this is a small number. I'm going to guess 2% of the people that go to see Avatar on opening day literally bought their tickets to see the first teaser for Avengers Doomsday.
Only 2%?
Think about the number of people
I
going.
know.
2% is a lot of people. It's a lot of people. I'm talking about who wouldn't have gone to go see Avatar that weekend, but they're going just because. Now, it's 100% of the people who are going are looking forward to seeing the trailer, but 2% of them are probably only going specifically to see this trailer for Avengers Doomsday. All right. Now, some people may be wondering, well, John, does that now mean we're going to get Ticket Watch? Well, I don't know yet, because one of the things that they have not told us in any of these postings is what time the tickets go on sale. This is going on sale Sunday at midnight, so 12:01 a.m. on Monday. Will they go on sale on 9 a.m. Eastern time on Monday? Will they go on sale 12 p.m. We just don't know yet. So once we find that out, maybe we'll be able to schedule a Ticket Watch. We'll wait and see for now. So here's the question that we are faced with now. Now that we know when the tickets are going on sale, how many tickets are going to get sold? How big is this thing going to be for an opening weekend? Are we going to see another situation where, like dominoes falling in the wind, one ticket website selling site crashes after another? How big is this thing going to be? And I'm going to tell you, Rob, are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Hit me.
Not that big. It's not going to be that big. And some of you might be saying, but John, how can you possibly say that? I'll tell you how I can possibly say that. The other two Avatar films are amongst the biggest films. No, they are in the upper crust of the biggest films of all time. And neither of them opened exceptionally huge. That's just not their pattern. As a matter of fact, let's go over and take a look at this. If you look at the top 20 opening weekend box offices of all time. Of course, Avengers Endgame at $357 million. Spider-Man No Way Home at $260 million. Avengers. Look at that. The top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The top 6 are all Disney-owned properties. Deadpool and Wolverine at 212. Let's go all the way down to number 20. Batman and Superman Dawn of Justice, 166. That's number 20. You know what's not on that list? Any Avatar film. No Avatar film is on that list. Why? Well, because if we go over and take a look at here, the first Avatar film, the highest grossing film of all time, it opened with $77 million. A good opening weekend.
Sure.
But not mind-warping big, right? All right, well, what about Avatar: The Way of Water? I had a bigger opening weekend. $134 million. This is like what, the third or fourth biggest film of all time? Avatar: Way of Water? I don't even think it's in the top 30 of the biggest opening weekends. Look, what I'm saying here is that Avatar 3 is going to be massive. It's going to be huge. But if you're thinking it's going to have like a $200 million opening weekend, I think you have to look at history. These films don't necessarily open that big. They just stick around forever as everybody starts getting around to going to see it and people go to see it multiple times. I just don't think so. Now, Rob, I think we're going to see the biggest opening that Avatar has ever had. I do think that. I think it'll be over 130 million. I think it'll be the biggest one it's ever had, because not only is it the next Avatar film, we also got that Avengers little doodad attached to it. That's going to help. But again, I don't think we're looking at a $180 million opening. Rob, I'll even say, I don't think we're looking at an opening that will put it on the top 20 list. I don't think it exceeds $167 million. I think it can be 140, 150, maybe even 160, but I don't even think it's going to be a top 20. So it's going to be big, but I don't think we're about to see a domino cascading falling of ticket selling websites crashing as a result of it, because that's just not what Avatar films do. They don't open big. And here's what's going to happen, Rob. Here's what's going to happen. Just like what happened with Avatar: Way of Water, it's not going to have a huge opening. And go woke, go broke. Too much of the girl Na'vi. Remember that? Like an opening weekend and all these articles and videos got made. It's like, guys, don't you remember the last Avatar only opened to 77 million? So this one opened huge. You'll get all those kind of videos getting made about it. And then everybody else will say, slow your roll. Just wait. Let's see how it does over the next month. And then it'll make like $1.7 billion. At any rate, Rob, the tickets go on sale on Monday. How quickly are you buying yours? And just how big do you think the opening weekend on this is going to be?
Well, to be honest, I don't think Avatar Fire and Ash is on people's minds the way it's on my mind. And I just don't think that I don't think it's going to be huge to start with. I think that we're a little further out. And unless they're going to promote that the Doomsday trailer's on the front of it, the fanboys will be like, I'll get around to buying a ticket when I get around to buying a ticket. I don't think, because like you pointed out, the way these movies open, this doesn't have, I mean, it's really weird. Within our fan community and with our movie pundit community, Avatar is still poo-pooed, it's still Fern Gully in space. And people don't admit, I will freely admit, I love these movies. I could watch Avatar all day and twice on Sunday. I love the Avatar movies. And I think the vision and the imagination and the filmmaking that goes into making these things is astonishing. It's the pinnacle of what technology has brought us. And yes, the stories are simple, but by design. I'm not going to apologize. That said, nobody's excited about them. You'll hear pundits say, well, Avatar has no cultural footprint anywhere. Well, that might be true. That doesn't reconcile with the amount of numbers that these movies do. People love these films. It's just they don't live inside them the way Star Wars does, the way Star Trek does, the way Harry Potter does. People love the experience of seeing Avatar. but it's not something that I think people revisit over and over and over again. So it's not part of their psyche the way our other big franchises are. But everybody loves them. You know, I equate it to I like going to the country fair once a year. I like riding the roller coaster at the Western Washington Fair. I like getting scones and candied apples, and I have a great time. But when I leave, I don't really think about it again until the next year when the Western Washington Fair comes around, and I'm going to go do the Puyallup one more time. And I have a great time, but then I don't think about it for the rest of the year. And I think Avatar is kind of like that. So I think it'll do okay, but I don't think we're going to shatter any records or there's going to be no shattering at all. People will be, oh yeah, I'll get around to buying those tickets. So I think that's how it's going to go.
Yeah, and again, I can't help but kind of chuckle a bit when I hear the people talking about how nobody cares about Avatar. I hear that thrown around so much.
All the time.
Really? Really? Nobody cares about Avatar? Huh. That's funny. It's the #1 film of all time.
Yep.
Oh, and by the way, the sequel is the #3 film all time. 2 Avatar films have grossed over $5 billion. Let me repeat that. Over $5 billion. Yet you say nobody cares about Avatar. Sure thing.
Do you know what it is, John?
What is it?
These movies aren't cool. They're family movies at their core. They're nice movies. They don't have an edge to them. They're probably the greatest family films of all time. Because not only, I mean, yeah, it started out as a cool science fiction film, but what they become is really a story about the strength of family, more so than the Fast and the Furious movies, more so than Lilo.
It really is about family. You're right.
These are the most, I mean, in terms of movies that sort of embody the frontier spirit of what America could be, you know, fighting against injustice, keeping your family together no matter what. And if there's misfits outside, you bring them into the family for strength. These people are people of faith because they believe in Awa. And in a way, none of it is cool. None of it has an edge. It's all sort of, and yet at the same time, I think when people see these movies, they feel like this is the world that we want to build.
Yeah.
I mean, get into the psychology of it all. I think that's what it is. You know, I like to say that, yeah, man, I like The Crow and I like Blade Runner and I like all these, but those movies have an edge.
All these movies that nobody actually goes to see.
I mean, but the thing about Avatar is they're these beautiful, I mean, one of the things about, even when you watch the behind the scenes documentary on Disney, even watching these movies, the behind the scenes are beautiful. You know, even though it's all motion capture, there's something about these films that are incredibly, I think they're nurturing for the soul. And that's not cool. Not in this day and age. But everybody craves it.
Yeah.
Everybody wants it.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Avatar, Fire and Ash, tickets go on sale on Monday. It's going to be big. But I don't think that big because the Avatar films, despite being the #1 and #3 all-time biggest films in the history of the world, they don't actually open that big. They just get momentum and keep going. So I think it's going to be really big, but maybe not all that big. Maybe you disagree. How big of an opening are you expecting for Avatar, Fire and Ash? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we don't normally do this at the end, Rob, but I thought just for fun today we would. We're going to play ourselves a little round of what's more, or not what's more likely, that was yesterday. We're going to play a little round of overreaction here on this Friday. The way overreaction works is really simple. We jumped on the YouTube channel and we asked you guys, do you guys have any hot takes that Rob and I can then tell you if you are overreacting or not? We picked out a few to use, so let's get over to it right now, and we're going to get things started here with this. Govendora, I hope I'm saying that right. Rob, Is this an overreaction? The Devil Wears Prada 2 will gross somewhere between $500 and $800 million next year. This will be a huge hit. Overreaction or not?
I think that's a little bit of an overreaction. I mean, I like The Devil Wears Prada, but an $800 million worldwide gross?
5 to 800. 5 to 800.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's still an overreaction.
All right. You know what?
It's an overreaction.
I'm going to say it's not an overreaction. I think if they had just said 800, I'd say it's an overreaction. But 5 to 800, I believe this can be a $500 million film. Rob, I told the story yesterday. The new trailer came out, and I said, oh, the new trailer for Devil Wears Prada, and I played it for Anne, my wife. And I'm watching the trailer. I had already seen it, but I'm watching the trailer, and it ends. You know, it's just a little teaser. The elevator door is closed. So I turned to my wife to say, so what did you think of it? And she was crying. She goes, I'm already crying. And then last night I went out. Anne's in Chicago right now teaching a class, but I went out with some friends last night, and you know, my buddy's wife and one of Anne's friends, she's like, oh my God, you see The Devil Wears Prada? I'm like, yeah. I looked at her, she was like, crying. And she's talking about how she was crying. And I've heard from other women, guys, do not underestimate how big of a movie Devil Wears Prada is to a lot of men too, but to a lot of women. And they have waited a long time, and 800 may be unrealistic, but I don't think 500 is all that sci-fi fantasy.
Maybe.
I don't think 500 million's an overreaction. I really don't.
The original only grossed 326 worldwide, and it's been 20 years.
Yeah, and it's only, I think for a lot of women, it's only grown in its stature.
I mean, look, maybe it's the Top Gun Maverick for girls. I don't know.
You know what? That's oddly, Rob, I think that's a pretty good comparison. All right, let's go on to the next one here, shall we? And our next overreaction statement comes into us from the Antagonistic Anonymous, who writes, Rob, Chris Pratt is currently one of the most bankable actors in Hollywood. Is that an overreaction or not?
No. I mean, the guy, it doesn't matter what he does. It seems like he gets paid and makes a lot of money for people. Look at Super Mario Brothers. You know, everyone complained that he was the voice actor of that, and look at how much money that movie made. You have the 3 Guardians movies. You've got the Avengers movies that the Guardians were in. I don't know what his current box office is. And I'll tell you something else. I know a lot of people didn't like the movie he did, the science fiction film he did with Jennifer Lawrence, but I did.
Passengers.
But yeah, Passengers is we were talking about it yesterday, the production design of Guy Dies. I think he has a great personality, and even when he's doing streaming science fiction movies, I think he's a great leading man that people like him. He's the all-American star. He's got a quality that we haven't seen in a long time, and I think he's incredibly bankable.
All right. I'm going to say it's an overreaction. Now, be clear. Everybody knows I love Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Like I've had a chance to actually hang out with the guy on a few occasions. I think he's a wonderful person, and I love him as an actor. I think he's great. But to suggest he's bankable means you put him in it, and that will be the reason people come. Nobody went to go see Super Mario Brothers because Chris Pratt was doing the voice of Mario. I think there might even be fair to say some people went to see Super Mario Brothers despite the fact that Chris Pratt was the voice of Super Mario Brothers. Nobody went to go see any of the Avengers movies just because Chris Pratt was there. I would say the same thing about another one of my favorites, Zoe Saldana. Zoe Saldana is the highest grossing, or was for a period of time, the highest grossing actress. Because when you look at the all-time biggest films, Avengers films, she's in it. Avatar films, she's in it. But is she bankable? Did people go to Avatar because she's Neytiri? Did people go to see Avengers because she's that? And so because of that, and by the way, he's got that new movie coming out with Rebecca Ferguson where he's on trial for the murder of his own wife.
Yeah, that movie looks cool. That's an Amazon movie.
Yep, and no one's going to go see it. I don't think...
It's called Mercy, I think, right?
I think you're right. It is. I think he is great. I love him. I'll put him in my movies any day of the week. But to say he's one of the most bankable stars today, I see no evidence personally to support that, other than he happened to be in some big movies, but I don't think anybody rushed out to see him because Chris Pratt was there. So even though I love him desperately, I got to say, I personally think that's an overreaction. All right. Rob, let's move on to the next one here. And this next one comes to us from Blake Keeler, who writes, Michael will make more than Doomsday and Spider-Man Brand New Day, not combined. Will make more than Doomsday and Spider-Man. People underestimate how big Michael Jackson really is. There will be a ton of rewatchability too. Rob, is saying Michael will be bigger than Doomsday or Spider-Man an overreaction or not an overreaction?
I think Blake is right in his assessment of Michael Jackson and people's interest and probably the rewatchability of the film, but ain't no way that some musical biopic is going to outgrow Spider-Man or Avengers. I'm sorry. Ain't going to happen. It's a massive overreaction.
100% you're right. It's a massive overreaction. Listen, I think Michael, I'm on record. I think Michael will be the biggest musical biopic of all time. I think it'll pass Bohemian Rhapsody and become the biggest biopic of all time. But the reality is, Rob, there's never been a musical biopic that's made even $1 billion. Bohemian Rhapsody got close, but it's the only one that ever got close. So I think it'll be bigger than that. When we're talking about Spider-Man and we're talking about Avengers Doomsday, we're not talking about films that have the potential to be billion-dollar films. We're talking about movies that have the potential to be $2 billion films. Not that they will, but that's where their potential is. Michael has the potential to be a $1 billion film, and I think it will be. But there is no reality. I'm in 100% agreement with you on this. There's no world, no alternate dimension, no variance, nothing that Michael is going to make more money than Spider-Man or Doomsday, let alone both of them. All right. We got 2 more to go here, Rob. So for this next overreaction, we go over to Space Dog 43. And Space Dog 43 says, Masters of the Universe will make over $500 million. Rob, is it an overreaction? Say the new He-Man movie will make over $500 million?
No, I don't think so, because you've got multi-generations of He-Man fans. And I think with the talent involved, word is going to get out that, well, they're calling it Masters of the Universe, that it's just an incredible fantasy movie. And it's going to be a great time at the picture shows. And I think that we who like science fiction, fantasy, horror, all those things are going to have a real treat in store. And everyone's going to be like, if you told me that Masters of the Universe was going to be my favorite movie of the year, I would have laughed at you. And people are going to find out that it's going to be. And I think it's going to be a monster hit. MGM, Amazon's going to have a monster hit on their hands. And I'm going to see it twice.
I think Masters of the Universe can do better than what most people think. But I think saying it's going to go over that $500 million mark, I think it's an overreaction. And the reason I say that is because while everybody is familiar with He-Man, somebody out there, point me to the last He-Man anything that was a big smash hit. On television, in the movies, you can't, because it's nowhere to be found. Like, He-Man is something that we're all familiar with, but I don't know that there's this huge ocean of people out there just dying, waving their money in the air, like, what was it called? Space-orama, whatever, the Simpsons other one. What was it called again? The
animated Simpsons movie?
No, the same guy who did the Simpsons did the
Futurama.
Why did I say Space-orama?
I thought you were thinking about a movie. I'm like, is there a Simpsons movie?
No.
What?
Futurama.
Yeah,
Why did I freeze on Futurama? But
that's been resurrected multiple times.
It has. But I mean, show me this ocean of people waving their money around like the guy from Futurama going, just take my money, for a He-Man thing. There's never been a big hit He-Man anything.
Not yet.
So look, I think this movie's going to be really good. I think it's going to do much better than people initially thought when they first announced it, because I'm hearing nothing but good things about it so far. That could change. and I think it's going to be good, and I think we're going to like it, and I think it'll do well. I'm just thinking they're going to have to get that first one that's good and establishes a reputation before they can put out a He-Man movie that crosses the $500 million mark. I hope you're right, Rob. I hope you're right and I'm wrong. But I'm going to say for now it's an overreaction. So I'll go with that. But I hope you're right. All right. Last one, Rob.
Hit me, baby, one more time.
Last hot take from one of our viewers today. And this one comes to us from Death's J71, who writes, the Avengers Doomsday teaser is going to be the most viewed trailer of all time. Rob, we went down the list the other day. I mean, right now, the current biggest trailer release in history of film is Deadpool and Wolverine with over like 300 and something million downloads the first 24 hours. Will the trailer for Avengers Doomsday, once it hits online, is it an overreaction to say it is going to become the biggest trailer download ever of all time?
I think it is. I think it is. Because look, so
you're saying it's not an overreaction?
Not an overreaction at all. I think for all the goodwill that the MCU might have squandered, the Avengers movies have delivered. And there's so much going on. There's so many questions that this movie poses. That people are going to want to get a taste, and they're going to debate it, and they're going to watch the trailer again. I'm sure I'm going to watch it 5 times in a row. I think it's going to be the biggest trailer of all time, and deservedly so, especially because of how long they've been working on it. I mean, they could do a whole behind the scenes on the making of this trailer. I think they should. I can't wait. I think it's going to be the biggest trailer ever.
I don't know that we can say deservedly so, because we haven't seen it yet to see if the trailer's any good yet or not.
Well, that's true, but I'm just saying because of everything. Look, there's a lot going on that people have questions about, and I think the trailer's either going to be the greatest of all time, and it won't be an overreaction, or it's going to be a crushing disappointment. I don't think people are going to be like, it was okay.
Yeah, but will people watch it? And that's the question.
Yes.
And look, you and I both agree that we think this is the most important first trailer for a movie ever because of all the circumstances surrounding it. And I think that when this trailer launches, it will be big, huge even. But to say that this is going to be the biggest trailer launch of all time, oh yeah, that's not an overreaction. You're 100% right, 100%. It is absolutely going to, I don't know if it's going to blow away the Deadpool and Wolverine numbers because those are really, really big. But Rob, it's a question of how much curiosity is there surrounding this, for good or for ill, because both sides of those will contribute to massive viewership numbers. Everybody is going to click on that trailer. Everyone, casual movie fans, hardcore Marvel fans, and hardcore Marvel haters. They will all, because it's free, click on that trailer. I don't think there will ever be as much curiosity. Maybe there will in the future, but not until this point. There is no doubt that this is going to be the most viewed trailer of all time. This will be the biggest debut for a trailer ever. Now, whether or not the trailer's good, as they would say in The Wizard of Oz, Rob, that is a horse of a different color.
Yes.
We don't know, but as far as those first 24-hour numbers, Rob, we could see something happen that hasn't happened in many years. We could see YouTube crash. I'm not going to put money on it.
That would be hilarious.
But we could see YouTube
love to
crash.
See that happen. Yeah, I would love to see that. Yeah, I'll tell you something. The one thing this trailer has going for it as well is it's hitting over Christmas. It drops right before the Christmas week.
Yeah.
And so people are going to watch this trailer over and over. They're all home from school. They got nothing to do but doom scroll, as it were. Watch this trailer.
Well done. Well done. Well, guys, that wraps up today's little session of overreaction. And it also sums up and wraps up all of our topics here today. So, hey, thanks, guys. Now, Listen, we got to take a minute and do a couple things here because we're about to go over to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. By the way, the super chats are still open. If you have a thought or observation or point of view or a question about any of the topics we talked about or any others, go ahead and fire that in now. But I am going to be turning off the super chats here in about 5 minutes. So you got a few more minutes to fire some in, then I'm going to turn them off and we'll just address the ones we've got. But before we get to that, we got to do two things. First, we have to bid good day to writer, director, producer Robert Meyer Burnett. Great job as always, sir, and we will see you again on Monday.
Yes, and John, please drive safe. There's stormy weather out there. We've got an atmospheric river over Southern California, so be good, drive safe, and remember, don't mess with Texas.
Yeah, and then I'll talk to you remotely because while you are remote today, our chairs are going to be reversed. You're going to be in studio on Monday, and I'm going to be on the road coming in remote from the van. So, but I will talk to you on Monday. Have a great day, Rob.
All right, man. I'll see you later. Drive safe, please.
I will. Please. All right, guys. With that out of the way, we are now, before getting your questions, we're going to take a quick second and thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our good friends over, let me see, make sure I got my buttons lined up here. There it is. Over at Zapier. Guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Zapier. You know, one of the biggest game changers of the past year has been AI. But let's be real, just talking about AI doesn't actually make your day any more productive. What does make it more productive is finding tools to put AI to work for you. And that's where Zapier comes in. Zapier is the easiest way to take AI and plug it directly into the apps and processes that you're already using every day. No IT bottlenecks, no complexity, just results. For me, it's been about saving time on repetitive stuff so I can focus on the work that matters and I actually enjoy. And it's not just me. Over 3.4 million companies are already using Zapier to streamline everything from sales and marketing to IT and HR. With their AI orchestration platform, you can connect top AI models like ChatGPT or Claude right into the apps you already use. So whether it's automatically enriching leads, coaching your sales team, or even resolving IT tickets, Zapier makes it simple. Guys, join the 3.4 million companies already automating with Zapier and transform how you work with Zapier and AI. Get started for free by visiting zapier.com/Campea. That's zapier.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Zapier for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that all down, let's now get over to the important stuff, your thoughts, theories, opinions, and questions. And we're going to get things started off here with, I think we're starting with James Wheeler. Yes, we are. James Wheeler writes, as a lifelong Patriots fan since the days of Stephen Grogan and Stanley Morgan, I am loving Drake May. He's pretty good. Are you still a follower of the Pats? Yeah, I still follow the Patriots. I still like the Patriots. They're not my number one team like they were for ever since Bill Parcells became their coach, because they're just a totally different team now. Other than the Toronto Maple Leafs, I don't follow any logo. Like, I become fan in sports, other than with the Toronto Maple Leafs, I've become fans of teams, not organizations. And so, yeah, but Patriots were like my number one team ever since Bill Parcells, and then they got into the Brady era. But after Brady and Gronk and Edelman and Belichick and everybody was gone, it's just a different team. But I still have a fond place in my heart for them. I'll tell you what, as soon as they hired Mike Vrabel as their coach, I was like, okay, they're going to turn things around now. Nobody thought they were going to turn things around this fast. So really good things in the future for them. All right. Next up. Let's see. X-Men superfan Emma Frost writes, you said that you had a soft spot for Katharine Hepburn. What do you think she offered as an actor? She had a way to eat up the screen. She just simply had a way to completely eat up the screen and be incredibly memorable. And here's the thing. She never overacted, underacted. She understood the term of every film she was in, the African Queen and whatnot, where she was just able to, she was a consummate movie star and her performances were always great. So yeah, she's one of the greatest of all time. I don't think the greatest of all time, but one of the greatest of all time. All right. Next up, we got Bobby Jackson, who writes, you talked about the state of Star Trek yesterday and today, and the Kelvin timeline. If they went away from the current crew, do you think a next generation crew in the Kelvin timeline could work? All right. I'm glad you brought that up, Bobby, because it's something me and Rob didn't discuss when we were talking about it. But there is a possibility. I'm not saying it's likely. Let me be clear. I'm not saying it's likely, but I'm saying there's a possibility that this brand new Star Trek with a brand new crew and brand new characters, it could still be in the Kelvin timeline. Because just as the Next Generation was an all new cast and an all new set of characters, it was set in the original show's timeline just many years in the future. I didn't see anything in the article that disqualified the idea that this could still be technically in that Kelvin timeline, but like 40 years after the Chris Pine Captain Kirk. Again, I'm not saying it's likely. I'm just saying that's a possible way they could go for it. Not necessarily absolutely the way they'll do it, but it is possible. All right. Next up, good observation, Bobby. X-Men Superfan writes, what in your opinion is the appeal of Steven Spielberg? Simple. He's the greatest of all time. He's the greatest he's the greatest filmmaker, period, that's ever lived. And the thing that really highlights him as such from all the other greatest of all time directors is the fact out of all of them, nobody could do the diversity of stories that Steven Spielberg can do. Look, everybody knows I love Quentin Tarantino, but you can make an argument that Quentin Tarantino makes Quentin Tarantino types of films, right? You can watch a film and you'll know instantly if it's a Quentin Tarantino film, right? You can even say that a little bit to a degree with Martin Scorsese, although Scorsese has a little bit more diversity. But with Steven Spielberg, he can do dramatic epic period piece. He can do sci-fi philosophical. He can do sci-fi action. He can do comedy. He can do musical. He can do everything. Everything. Steven Spielberg has done everything. Every kind of movie that you can think about, he can do, and he can make, and he's had movies nominated for Best Picture in almost every genre. Not every genre, but in almost every genre. No other director has ever come close to doing that. And so, yeah, he's simply the greatest of all time because of that. All right. By the way, I've turned off the super chat, guys. As I warned you a little bit earlier, I was going to turn them off. I've turned them off. All right. Next up, Junk Muffin writes, have you seen Counterpart? Yeah. Is that if we're talking about the J.K. Simmons series, it's a series show ran by the guy who did Shogun. And yes, J.K. Simmons. It's fantastic and so underrated. Watch it. I will say this about Counterpart. I liked it. I didn't end up loving it by the end. Like, particularly, I thought the first season was the strongest and the way they set it all up. And the whole concept behind it is brilliant. So yeah, I thought it was quite good. I'm not going to put it on the same level as Shogun or on the same level as House of the Dragon or the same level as Sons of Anarchy or Breaking Bad or things like that. But I thought it was quite a good show. And it really, again, as far as pure concept goes, it was brilliant. Such a brilliant concept for that. All right, next up. Lost Anchor Films writes, going to see a screening of Hamnet on Sunday. Excited. Listen, I talked to somebody the other day who thinks somebody who's an Academy voter. I don't know a lot of Academy voters, but I know 6 or 7 of them. I talked to somebody who was an Academy voter who just said, oh, that one's getting my vote. Hamnet is getting my vote. Now, for those of you who don't know much about it, Hamnet is the latest movie from Academy Award-winning director Chloe Zhao, who made Nomadland, which is utterly brilliant. And she did Eternals. This is her new one, kind of it's a William Shakespeare story. And I don't think the trailers are all that great. But again, I've talked to a few people who've seen it and they all gush out of their brains about it. And like I said, I talked to a friend of mine who happens to be an Academy Awards voter, and she said this one's getting her vote for Best Picture. I'm very excited to see it. Again, I don't think the trailers have been spectacular, but I'm hearing nothing but great things about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing it myself too. All right. Next up, we've got Harv's K, who says, one of two. Hey, John, have a great trip. Thank you so much. But definitely do your research if you go to Epic Universe. The park is incredible, but has been plagued with issues like ride capacity breakdowns and outdoor attractions closed due to weather. Also, there are some fantastic places to eat and drink in the park too. Have fun. I mean, thank you for the warning, Harvs. But the reality is, whenever you go to a theme park, whether it's Disneyland, Universal, whatever, you are always, I remember the last 2 times, I don't go to Disneyland all that much because fuck Disneyland, but my wife still loves it, so I'll go from time to time. The last 2 times I've gone to Disneyland, my number one favorite ride has been closed, the Indiana Jones ride, both times, as well as other multiple shutdowns. So we'll keep our eyes up, but we're not only going to Epic Universe, we're also just going to go to Universal Studios. We're going to go to Disney World. We're going to try to get in a lot of those places because we're going to be in Orlando for about 4 or 5 days. So we're going to try to get a bunch of the parks in if we can. Anyway, thanks for that, Harvs. Thanks for the heads up. I appreciate it, man. All right. Next up, X-Men Superfan writes, do you like John Ottman's X-Men suite from X2, Days, and Apocalypse? Do you think it was epic enough for X-Men? The best way I can answer that is to say, I don't even remember it all that well. Because like the main undertones came from the first X-Men film, right? And that's what was used in X-Men 2. And they've used those undertones from that theme ever since. Again, that's not a condemnation on him. It's just that they're unmemorable. I never walked away from any of those movies going, oh, the score. You know, I just never have. So that's kind of the extent I can think about it. All right, next up, Paul Mammer writes, hey crew, I was wondering which of the potential Warner Brothers buyers would most likely continue publishing DC Comics. Thanks, and bring on the filthy. Every single one of them. Now, here's what'll happen. Every single one of them who buys them, that's a feasible business. They're going to continue publishing DC Comics. That said, all of them are also going to evaluate it, and I don't think any of them are going to look at DC Comics as a sacred cow. I think they'll all continue publishing DC, but they're going to give it a year, 2 years, 3 years. They're going to try to turn around because let's face it, the comic book industry itself has struggled a lot in the last number of years. And if almost any of them run DC and think we just can't make this profitable, one of 2 things will happen. They will either shut down DC Comics, as inconceivable as that is, or number 2, which is probably the more likely scenario, is they will split off DC Comics and sell the comics to another company while arranging for a licensing deal for Warner Brothers to continue to always have the rights to make DC movies. And by the way, thank you, EG Tan, for sending in gift memberships. Thank you for that, man. So yeah, that's the most likely scenarios, I think, for now. All right. Good question though, Paul. Next up, Espinoza writes, hey, John, what are the odds that Marvel brings back Catherine Langford as a grown-up or variant Morgan Stark for Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars? Those are 2 separate questions. Question 1 is, what are the chances they bring back Morgan Stark, the character? And then the other question is that they bring back the original child actor who played her. I think it's much more likely that they bring back the character, but honestly, there's no reason to bring back the kid. There's no reason to. Like, the kid was at the age that you can bring in any actress now to play the role now that she's a little bit more grown up, because it's been like 7 years. So, is there a chance they could bring the same kid back? Sure, there's a chance. But I think it's more likely that if they do bring Morgan back, it'll be with a new actress playing her. Again, it's still possible they bring back the original kid, but there's literally no reason to bring back the original kid other than sentimental. Anyway, that's just kind of my thought on it. All right. Thanks for that, Espinoza. Next up, Will Dumas writes, how young do you think they go in recasting X-Men and Avengers? Do they go the route of Superman with actors in their mid-30s to early 40s? Curious to hear your thoughts. Also, go Leafs. It all depends on the character. Like, I don't think we're going to get a 32-year-old Charles Xavier. I don't think we're going to get a young, sexy, full head of hair Charles Xavier. unless they were doing an X-Men Origins thing where he's literally recruiting children, hence X-Men First Class. I think we're going to get an established team, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to say it all depends on the character, right? Like Kitty Pryde, if they do Kitty Pryde, is going to be younger than Scott Summers. Rogue, if they do Rogue, will be younger than Jean Grey. So like if they do characters like Kitty Pryde, Rogue, I could see them being in their late teens, mid to late teens. As far as Scott and Jean and, Beast and characters like that, I'd see early 30s. That's again, I'm just guessing, but I'm going to go early 30s. Because I think you're going to bring in Scott, who's already an established leader. So I don't think you're talking mid 20s, although that is possible. It is possible. My guess would still be early 30s. That's what I'm going to guess. All right. Next up. Quantum of Zen just sends in a super chat badge to be supportive. Thank you for that, Quantum of Zen. Appreciate that, man. Attack of the Mushi writes, do you remember the sci-fi show Being Human? Yeah. That's the one. Wait, correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat, but that was Carl Urban, wasn't it? Wasn't that the one where Carl Urban was the cop and his partner was an android? No. The Being Human is the one with the werewolf, the vampire, and the werewolf, the vampire, and something else. That's the one, right? Okay, yeah, Daniel Kinder saying ghost and vampire. Okay, yeah, that's right. And Sam Witwer was in that, wasn't he? Maybe. Do any of you guys remember the one I was thinking about? The one where I think Carl Urban was a cop and this stupidly good-looking dude, this black actor, stupidly good-looking dude, was like an android. If any of you guys remember that, the name of that one, let me know. That would be, I'd like to know. That was Almost Human? Oh, okay. So that one was called Almost Human. And that's the actor's name, Michael Ealy. That's right. That dude, that pisses me off how good looking that dude is. Like every once in a while you see a guy like a Javier Bardem or a Mike Coulter or a Mike Ealy and you think, fuck you for being that good looking. He's one of those guys. I was thinking about it. Anyway, yes, I never really watched it though. I'm not talking about the Carl Urban one. I'm talking about the Sam Witwer one. I never really watched that one though, but I do remember it. Anyway, thanks for bringing that up. Sorry, I went down so many different rabbit paths there. Next up, Matan Valensky writes, I'm kind of disappointed with how drab and devoid of color Nolan's Odyssey looks. It looks like generic Roman armor. The Odyssey deserves some vibrant colors, being another gritty and grounded film. But do you know the story of the Odyssey? I don't know that the Odyssey, especially telling it from the point of view with Tom Holland's character, and his quest to find his father and all that. I don't know if that calls for a bright and colorful palette. I don't know that I agree. Now listen, there are a lot of movies that I think called for brighter, more vibrant palettes. But then you watch a movie and you don't really know till you see it. Sicario is a great example of this, right? Sicario has more sepia, a little more dulled, less contrasty kind of images because that's the feel of the movie, right? It enhanced the feel of the movie. I don't think it would have felt as right in a Sicario if it was bright, vibrant colors all over the place. The Mexican is another good one. That's that. So I don't know. I watched the trailers for this. It feels like the right color palette. Now, I may watch the movie and totally change my mind. I might watch the movie and go, this movie really needed a brighter, more vivid color palette, but I'm not feeling that way right now. I might change my mind after I see it, but for now, I'm thinking he's going in the right direction. All right. Next up, X-Men Superfan writes, I think Diane Lane was the best part of the DCEU. No, but I thought she was really good. I mean, she's great in everything. She was By most metrics, perfect. Well, there's no such thing as a metric for acting. Every single line. Do you agree that Diane elevated the script with her performances? I do. Yeah. She absolutely was great. She was great. You don't owe them a damn thing. She's Diane Lane. She's a phenomenal performer. That's just what she does. She steps into any role, good or bad, and she'll take the material and she'll elevate the material as far as any single performance can. But her portrayal of Ma Kent was fabulous throughout the DCU. Would I put it above Henry Cavill? No, not necessarily. Would I put it above some of the other performances in there? Well, by the way, I thought Kevin Costner and her were great together in it. I wouldn't necessarily say she was the best part of the DCEU, but she was great. She was absolutely great. And yeah, it's one of the things that I lament not getting more DCEU is the fact that we don't get more of her. All right. X-Men Superfan also writes in, did David Cornsweet give you the feels of watching Superman, like right off the page? Did you get the same feeling as reading a Superman comic? Yes. Like, again, I remember the first time we saw the first images of David Cornsweet as Superman. And I remember Rob and I were talking about this when his first images came out. And it's like, if you had asked us who should be the new Superman, well, I'd only ever seen him in Hollywood, so I wouldn't even have thought of David Cornsweet. But once we saw him in that suit, I remember Rob and I had the same reaction. That's Superman. Like, whether the movie's good, not good, whether the script is good, is not good, and the movie was great, but regardless of any of that, that's Superman. And yeah, he really did that for me right away. And then his performance only enhanced that, so I thought he was great in the role. Again, Henry is still my Superman, but David Cornsweet was great. I thought he was fabulous, and he really did make me feel that way. All right. Amin writes, Avatar trailer on Monday, Odyssey trailer within the next few weeks, and Doomsday teaser with Avatar. What a time. Can't wait. Yeah. And you know what? I feel like the movie industry needs all of these to be great, because it has been true for a very long time that the big blockbusters carry the movie industry. They really do. That's nothing new. That's not a secret. Everybody knows this. It's been that way forever. That the big, the big franchises, the big blockbusters, put the movie industry on their back and carry it. And we've had, especially since, there's been the odd one here and there, but it's been a while since we've had this big collection of great, big, wonderful blockbusters. And if Avatar can deliver like the other two Avatars have, if Odyssey can be great, and if Doomsday can be great, if Spider-Man can be great, if Michael can be great, these are a lot of big ifs. These are a lot of ifs, but if they can, I feel like the movie industry needs them to do great, and hopefully they will. All right. Next up, we've got Mike Walsh, who writes, he will be Midnighter in the DC. Who? We are left to guess. If you guys have any guesses who Mike Wallace is talking about, go ahead and leave him for it, because maybe he's right. Whoever he is. Quantum of Zen writes, Netflix, we want movie awards, please. BAFTA, it must be in cinemas. Netflix, but our business requires to destroy cinemas. Yeah, exactly. They want their cake and they want to eat it too. By the way, that's probably what he was talking about. You're right. He was probably talking about Alan Ritchson, because we were talking about that earlier. Good point. I don't think that's who he's going to be, but it's not a bad guess, actually. It's not a bad guess. All right. Well put, Quantum of Zen. Well put. All right. Avietta writes, hey, John, for a while I've been wanting to make you a Discord server for you and your subscribers. Nah. We tried a couple of years ago. Some of you might not remember this. We tried a few years ago to do a Discord server, but it was really kind of pointless. There were a few people that enjoyed it, but it was a very small number of people. And to keep it updated just became too laborious and everything. And just there weren't enough people getting any use out of it. So Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not really interested in a Discord server. Again, we gave it a shot a few years ago. Didn't really pan out, so we kind of moved away from it. But thank you for thinking of us, and thank you for being forward thinking and wanting to take initiative. I appreciate that. All right. Next up, X-Men Superfan writes, thoughts on Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Oh, I love it. I talk about that movie all the time. Loved it. I mean, it introduced a lot of the world to Michelle Yeoh, but it also introduced me to a woman who became my movie crush for about 5 or 6 years, was Ji Zhang, or Zhang Ziyi, depending on how you like to say it, who later went on to do things like Memoirs of a Geisha, which we talked about the other day. She also went on to do, for most North American audiences, probably most familiar with her in Rush Hour 2. I mean, just one of the most stunningly beautiful people in Hollywood, and just she has a grace about her, a beauty and a grace about her that's incredible. I really liked her. But yeah, it just stood for, it's held a lot of records for a long time, got nominated for Best Picture of the Academy Awards, and it might have won. I think it might have won if it hadn't been against Gladiator. I believe it was Gladiator that it was against that year. But yeah, Crouching Tiger is just incredible. All right. Next up, Mega Red writes, with Doomsday trailer around the corner, we are sure to also get the first look via pics and maybe some small individual plot leaks. So exciting. Let's go. I'm not so sure about that. Like eventually, yeah, for sure. Eventually, but we all got to remember we are still a year away from this movie coming out. So they're putting out a trailer a year in advance, probably because they really feel with the state the MCU is in, we really got to start building excitement and momentum very early. And not just for this movie, but to build excitement around the MCU as a whole. I'm telling you right now, that is why Marvel is putting out an Avengers Endgame trailer now, a year in advance with Avatar. Because Marvel knows they're not just in the business right now of trying to build momentum and excitement and enthusiasm and buzz for Avengers Doomsday. I might have accidentally said Endgame, but for Doomsday. But they're just trying to build momentum and excitement for Marvel at all right now. They're not just trying to build excitement for one movie that's coming in a year. They're going to use this trailer right now to try to build positivity and excitement around the MCU as a whole. Now, that's not a burden that most trailers have to deal with, but it is one that this Doomsday trailer needs to bear with. So I absolutely guarantee you, the reason they're putting this thing out a year in advance is because they're not just trying to hype up Doomsday, they're trying to hype up the MCU, because the perception of the MCU, for good or bad, is probably the weakest it's been in a very long time, maybe since the inception of the MCU. And they think this trailer can change the narrative, and they're not wrong. A really great trailer right now can totally help change the narrative of the perception of the MCU as a whole. So we'll see how they go with that. All right. Thanks for that, Mega Red. Next up, Quantum Zem writes, Yoda would say, bet not against Jimmy C. It's true. Bet not against any good Canadian kid. It's a bad business to be in to bet against Canadians. And James Cameron, don't bet against him. Not that I'm not saying Avatar will make $3 billion, but I wouldn't put any money against him because it is Jimmy C. All right. Fabio writes, hey, John, thoughts about Brainiac confirmed by The Wrap in James Gunn's Man of Tomorrow? A couple things. Number one, it is not confirmed. Until James Gunn or Warner Brothers or David Cornsweet or an actor in the film, until somebody from Warner Brothers says it, it ain't confirmed. Number two, we all already knew Brainiac was it. James Gunn put out that image, what is it, like a month ago with the dude with the brain. Like, we all knew what that meant, and we talked about then. Listen, it's a good villain to use. Of course, it doesn't matter what villain you use if you don't write them well, so we'll see how that turns out. But be clear about this. As of right now, at least since I started the show today, maybe things have changed since I started the show, and maybe things will change later tonight, and maybe things will change tomorrow. But as of right now, nobody else has backed up that report. Not casting any shade on the rap at all, by the way. None at all. I'm just saying nobody else has followed that up or backed up that report. And again, the rap saying it does not confirm it. It's not confirmed until somebody from Warner Brothers says it. So, and if it is, then I just refer us all back to the same discussion we had about it a month ago when we all believed it seemed to establish the fact when James Gunn put out that image with the brain, we all then assumed, okay, yeah, it's Brainiac. And then we talked about it. So I would refer you back to that conversation. All right. Thanks for that, Fabio. Next up, X-Men Superfans, right? Girls and gays love the Devil Wears Prada. I'll tell you what, I am very boringly heterosexual, straight as an arrow. And I really like Devil Wears Prada. I mean, not as much as my wife does, but it's just, it's funny because Rob and I were talking about this the other day. Devil Wears Prada is just a fundamentally really good movie. Like, forget the fact that it's about fashion and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Take that out of it for a moment. The very fundamentals of great script writing, great filmmaking, great storytelling, great characters. Devil Wears Prada is just a really good movie. And it's got a lot of fans. I mean, granted and admittedly, most fans for Devil Wears Prada are stereotypically female. But I'm telling you, as a straight white male, I got to tell you, even I'm a fan of it too. It's got its fans everywhere. All right. Next up, we've got Wolf Motts, who writes, "Hey, John, happy Friday. I wrote in last week about Poker Face and mentioned how much I love the first season in hopes to persuade you to watch it. I do want to watch it at some point. I watched the first episode of season 2 last night, and Cynthia Erivo plays 6 different twin sisters with varying personalities. That's amazing. And she was so good. Her performance blew me away, so far away. In the point, I'm watching Wicked this weekend for the first time with Poker Face as well. It's one of Peacock's biggest shows, but they canceled it, and it's getting picked up by Paramount with the lead being recast to Peter Dinklage. Love your show." Well, okay. I had heard and read today that Poker Face got canceled after its second season. And I heard that Rian Johnson was going to shop 2 more seasons around, but I had not heard that anybody picked it up yet. So maybe by the time we started this show, Paramount has stepped in and decided to pick it up. And I had read that Peter Dinklage would become the lead character of the show, which is, I mean, after what, look, Peter Dinklage is always great. But if you don't know how great he is, and all you know him in is Game of Thrones, which is fair, but watch him in the newest season of Dexter. He's amazing in that, and I would love to see him in this. So I had not heard yet. Yeah, Calvin Patel in the live chat is saying, I don't think it's been officially picked up yet. Yeah, so as far as I know, Rian Johnson is shopping it around, but I don't think as of right now it's actually been picked up by anybody. I don't think. So we'll wait and see. I'm sure it will, but as of right now, I think Calvin is right. I don't think it's officially been picked up by anybody yet. All right. Let's see. We skipped over one there because of Wolf Mott's things. Thanks for the question, Wolf Mott. And I will get around to watching Poker Face. All right. Buster Barnes writes, here's my pitch. At the end of Man of Tomorrow, guys, please don't write in acronyms. At the end of Man of Tomorrow, Brainiac gets sent to Salvation. Then we get a buddy cop movie with him and Peacemaker trying to escape. Okay, you know what? You know what? You sold me. You absolutely 100% just sold me. I am absolutely down for a buddy cop heist escape whatever film of Brainiac and Peacemaker. Take my money. I'm on board for it. All right. Let's see. X-Men Superfan writes, what scene in Casablanca got you a little bit teary-eyed? Oh, listen, I'm going to straight up with you. I haven't seen Casablanca in over 20 years. And to be honest, I don't think any scene in Casablanca got me teary-eyed. Like not even the end. That iconic end with Humphrey and all. Like I don't know that any scene in that movie. Now, granted, that's not a criticism of Casablanca. I'm a person who I've only ever gotten heavily teary-eyed to the borderline of crying in 7 films in my life. But yeah, Casablanca wasn't one of them. But again, maybe there was, and I'm just not remembering because it's been like over 20 years since I've seen it. All right. Robo Producer writes, did you ever see the horrible Highlander, the source? I've seen everything Highlander. Because the original Highlander is in my top 10 favorite films of all time. Everything else sucks. There's a couple of seasons of the Adrian Paul Highlander series that was actually pretty good. But everything else about Highlander sucks, including the source. And I just don't even like talking about it, Robo Producer. I don't even like talking about it. All right. Hey, listen, guys, we've gone overtime. But I'll tell you what, we're here. So I'm going to just take a couple of questions from you guys in the live chat. And if you have a question for me in the live chat, do me a favor. See what I just put in the live chat? It says question, all in capital letters with the colon. If you have a question, fire one in and start off with a question. That way I know you're asking me a question. I'm going to let you know, don't get upset. I'm not going to answer all of them. I'm just going to pick a couple and I'll pick out a couple to answer and we'll go. All right. Let's see. We'll start off here with Josh in the live chat asks, which do you prefer, Deadpool and Wolverine or Superman 2025? I love them both for different reasons, but my overall better experience with Deadpool and Wolverine, because I just laughed so hard throughout that whole movie. So again, I love them both, but I'll give the slight edge there to Deadpool and Wolverine. Let's see. Jay Volter writes, what's your favorite Scorsese film? Oh. I mean, a part of me wants to say Taxi Driver, but it's probably not Taxi Driver. Part of me wants to say, okay, you know what? For now, I'm going to go Taxi Driver, but my God, so many of them, even his recent ones, like Killers of the Flower Moon was way too long. It should have been shorter, but that movie's great. Not in my top 3 favorite Scorsese films, but I mean, like Raging Bull. I'm going to go, okay, I'll go Taxi Driver for now, but I may change that. If you ask me again tomorrow, I might give you a different answer. But anyway, all right. Ryan Brown writes, do you think the DCU has the potential to surpass the MCU? Absolutely, it does. Now, that's it. Asking if it has the potential to do it is a different question than asking if it will. The potential to do it? Yes, it does. Will it? Oh, I don't know. That we're way far away from being able to get there yet. All right. Next up, Slim Manchild writes, I haven't seen Shawshank or Schindler's List. What do you recommend I watch? Also, I know Schindler's is a hard one. Yeah, it's one of the all-time great movies, but Shawshank Redemption is arguably in the top 5 greatest movies of all time. Some would argue, and I wouldn't argue against them, that Shawshank Redemption might be the single greatest film ever made. I don't have it there, but I've got it in my top 5. It's a remarkable achievement of filmmaking. It's inspiring. It's moving. It's heartbreaking, surprisingly hilarious in moments. It's just simply one of the greatest films ever made. So while there is forever a place of Schindler's List in the pantheon of the great movies, I would say Shawshank is the one you start off with first. All right, I'll pick one more here. Let's see. All right, we'll go with Buddha 1013, who writes, which comes first, Guardians 4 or Shang-Chi 2? That's an easy one, actually, because I don't think there's going to be a Guardians 4. You notice at the end of Guardians, it did not say the Guardians of the Galaxy will return. It didn't say that. It said Peter Quill will return. Didn't say the Guardians would return. It said Peter Quill will return. I know we're going to get a Shang-Chi 2 at some point. I'm not so sure we're ever going to get another Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Yeah, I think they're done making Guardians movies. And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Listen, guys, I also want one last reminder, one last time. I am leaving today, actually probably about an hour after we're done the show here. I'm getting in the van and leaving for the next leg of the movie meetups. Going to start on Tuesday for all of you who are in or around Dallas. Tuesday, November the 18th, I'm going to be at the 6:55 screening of Running Man at the Cinemark Dallas XD and IMAX. Then the next night, Ann and I are going to be in Austin, Texas for the 7:20 screening of Now You See Me, Now You Don't at the Galaxy Theater, Austin. And then for our friends in Orlando or around Orlando, on Monday, November 24th, we're going to be at the 6:30 p.m. screening of Wicked for Good at the AMC Disney Springs. If you are in or around any of those places, I hope you guys will come on down, watch a movie with us, and then hang out and meet. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. You're going to see me for the next 2 weeks. I'll be in the van I'll be remoting into the studio here with Rob and Jonathan from the van. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Can't wait to talk to you guys again. Until that time, my name's John Campea. And until then, my friends, bye-bye.